Hi, everyone, and welcome to a special guest episode of Laurier Golden Talks, Laurier 101. Kick it! Well, thank you everyone for joining us on a special episode of the Laurier Golden Talks podcast. We are joined by some of our very special friends today. I'm going to introduce myself. You all know me. You're probably getting sick of me. I'm Christine. I'm one of your co-hosts, and I'll let everyone else on the panel introduce themselves.
What's good, everybody? It's your other co-host, but my first bonus episode ever. Super excited. Representing the true north and the most famous raptor of all time, Kyle.
Oh, we almost saw what that said.
Kyle Laurier.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. It's hard to do with wired earbuds. My bad.
Good attempt.
I'll go next. Hi, everyone. My name's Lindsay. I'm the manager of Transition and Learning Services, part of the Laurier 101 team. We're very excited to be chatting with all of you here today, but then also really excited to get started with our Laurier 101 programming for all incoming students throughout the summer.
My name is Heather. I'm a learning consultant on the Waterloo campus, part of the Laurier 101 program.
And I'm Jamie, and I'm the Transition and Retention Coordinator at the Brantford campus. And like everyone said, we're really excited to meet you.
Awesome. So Christine told me just before we went live with this that I'm going to drive the conversation. So this should be interesting. But first, I think we need to just acknowledge the majesty that is the backdrop of Jamie Poole's Zoom call. Probably the best one I've ever seen. And
That's the
just
winner.
so everyone is clear,
Thank you.
that is 100% natural. There's no virtual element there.
That's true. It's 2 years in the making of just buying random stuff and then literally using masking tape and taping out a pattern on my entire floor and then hanging it all up. So I can never move. And if I ever do move, there's gonna be a million holes on my wall. So sorry, like homeowners of my home. But yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Drywall patch, easy to do. For our audience, something that probably intimidates them, you'll get there. It'll be fun. So Lindsay and I actually go back a long ways. We were Residence Life Dons together. So yeah, how about that? And so Lindsay, why don't you just tell, because you've been doing sort of this piece now as it relates to student transition as or the longest of anybody on this call. So maybe a little bit about yourself and sort of how you've ended up where you're at and what makes you tick relative to why this is such an important thing that you do.
Sure, that sounds good. It's I think a common Laurier story for many of our story staff members. I'm a Laurier grad. I graduated from the BBA program. I won't say how many years ago, but it's around the same time in number as Craig. So we'll leave it at that for now. And had such a great experience. When I finished, I actually started working in recruitment. And then Craig and I worked together in recruitment for a number of years as well, and spent a lot of time traveling across the country and across Ontario, just telling students how much I loved that Laurier experience and wanted to keep staying. So it was about 8 years ago now that I switched and started working in student success. So I usually tell students that I started by helping students figure out how to get into Laurier and making sure that it was a good fit for them. And now my job is really making sure that students get out of Laurier in a really successful way and have all the skills that they need to be successful students. So our team will be working with new incoming students throughout the summer, supporting them and making sure that they're feeling prepared and ready to get started with classes. But we're also around through all 4 years, just supporting students and make sure everyone has a really successful Laurier experience.
Nice. So I'm guessing that the last 4 months or so, you've been doing some things relative to figuring out what life looks like now that you don't work in an office anymore. So just to get an idea, maybe, I don't know if it's helpful to do sort of a, this is what we would normally do relative to supporting student transition and preparedness. And then this is how it looks different for 2020?
Sure. Actually, that's a pretty easy one to start with because it doesn't actually look that different in the sense that we've been supporting the new incoming students through our transition program for a number of years now. And what we did this year when we did the pivot to online was really just look at what are the goals are that we have for a Laurier 101 program around academic preparation and helping students connect with one another, feeling like they know and understand and are feeling comfortable with the Laurier community. And we found ways to achieve all of those goals in an online environment. So as much as we aren't able to invite students to campus to come and chat with us, we have a number of opportunities and programs and events sort of at the formal level with webinars and sessions that students can attend, and more informal with drop-in, ask us anything sessions, chats with program advisors and senior students, really just a good combination of opportunities for students to connect with us throughout the summer. So as much as it was a bit of a pivot, it wasn't a huge pivot for us because the goals have always remained the same, and just making sure students feel comfortable and really above all else, just answering all of the questions. And we are certainly aware that there's probably more questions than ever this year, but we're prepared for it. We are ready with as many answers as we can be in the moment, and we'll update as we need to throughout the summer as well.
Greg and I were in a webinar earlier today about kind of what the fall is going to look like for students. And there were so many questions about like, well, what if I'm not ready for my math courses? Or how am I going to register for courses? I'm like, Laurier 101. And they're like, well, what about this? How am I going to meet friends before university? I was like, Laurier 101. Like all of the infrastructure like already existed. So every question they had, I was just like, oh, you guys are so lucky. This is already here for you.
Perfect. Well, the one thing I will admit is that we are a little bit behind in getting all of that information out. So recognizing that students might still have a lot of questions about how we're going to offer that support, what I will say is that on June 2nd, when the students kind of make that final decision, we get the list of who our incoming students are after the confirmation deadline. They're going to get an email on that day, and everything will be ready to launch and go. We'll be rolling some different pieces out throughout the summer, but we'll be ready by next week.
So Heather, as it relates to your role within the Laurier 101 atmosphere, or what's the word I'm looking for? When you're like ecosystem, there it is, just came to me. In the ecosystem, like where do you fit in? Because I know that Laurier 101 encapsulates a number of different things that Lindsay's already sort of touched on. Where do you sort of fit in terms of the specific things that you do in your role to make that happen?
That's a great question. So as Lindsay introduced the Laurier 101 program, it's really just this umbrella program, or the umbrella term. And there's lots of different ways that you can interact with us over the summer, not only from June to September, but like Lindsay mentioned, throughout the entire year as well. So I'm a learning consultant, and in a regular environment, I would be on the Waterloo campus. But how it pertains to the Laurier 101 program this year, really everything is multi-campus. So we're really proud of all of the programming, that it doesn't matter where you're coming from, whether it's international or you're a transfer student, or you would traditionally be going to the Waterloo or Brantford campus, all of our programs are going to be available and accessible to all of the students. So it's hard to actually say which one I would typically sit with, because at this point, our team's been working very hard, and just like this all day, we've been talking virtually to make sure that those programs are all accessible. So yeah, it's hard to say to pinpoint which exactly one, but we kind of have our hands in everything at this point. And I even argue that we have more programs than we ever have before. So traditionally, when we could offer opportunities on campus, that might have been excluding some people that were maybe in Northern Ontario, or they were across Canada or internationally as well. But now we truly can say that all of our programs and the events that we're hosting are accessible to anyone as long as they have internet access.
Nice. So Jamie, you are the Brantford side of the multi-campus team. And fun fact, Jamie's also my carpool buddy. Now it's not always easy if I got to get to work on time and, or I have to pick up the girls from daycare, then it doesn't always work. And sometimes Jamie's doing super important things, or she's going to the Waterloo campus for meetings with Heather and Lindsay. But when we can, we like to enjoy each other's company on the 401 as we make our way to the beautiful downtown Brantford. So Jamie, do you have sort of some specificity in your role that might differ from Heather just by virtue of either being on a different campus or perhaps a slightly different focus in what you're doing?
Yeah, like in terms of the Laurier 101 programming, not really. As Heather said, this has been a really special year, I guess, in doing so much collaboration and creating all of these new programs that are really multi-campus. The only sort of shift, I guess, in Laurier 101 that I will mention is we have another program called Laurier Life that we run through My Learning Space. And that's actually the platform students are going to use to access all of their online courses in the fall. So it's kind of like a double whammy, right? You get to, engage with our programming, but also become really comfortable with what you're going to be using academically. So I've been working with another teammate of mine as part of Laurier 101 a little bit more on that aspect. But we're hoping that it's going to be, exclusive content for Laurier students. They'll have to log in to access senior student tips, resources, how-to videos, and really be a connection piece for them. So we want to facilitate some discussion and have first year students meeting other people in their program and their classes and doing, some different student panels and stuff like that. So been working on that as well.
Jamie, I just have a follow-up question. It's a little off topic, but does Craig sing in the car and make you listen?
Yes. Yes.
Whoa. Hang on. Just make sure she heard the last part where I make you listen. Like there's some sort of against your will part.
That's all you can leave.
So that's fine. So now that we've said that, I'm really curious to hear your answer.
Yeah, I don't know if you're going to appreciate this, but the best part I think of, yes, we do, well, we don't do, Craig does carpool karaoke. The best part though is that he doesn't just play a song and sing to it. He actually plays a piano version, or someone played something instrumentally on top of the song, and then he sings on top.
Okay.
It's really a personal concert, so I feel blessed. Like that.
More of a solo act.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like that scene with Mike Tyson in The Hangover, where it's like, just quiet. This is my favorite part.
Yeah. I don't know what's better, like saving gas money by not driving to campus, but not hearing like Craig's music. I don't know. I don't know what's better for me as a person.
Real catch-22.
Yeah.
I prefer to think of it as a win-win. And also, if it gets a little slippery on the roads, sometimes Jamie lets me drive her car because it's just easier for her. So
I'm a baby. Yeah.
All right. So that was very tangential, but
yeah.
Lindsay, when we talk about like the Laurier 101, Heather mentioned it's an umbrella. It's almost like its own ecosystem. As I understand, there's kind of 5 key elements to it. Maybe just want to break down real quick the big 5 in terms of what 101, those elements that bring it all together.
For sure. The first one, and really for any student that accepts that offer, I think it's a heads up that your first job as a Laurier student is to register for courses, and we're going to ask you to do it pretty quickly. First year course registration, is going to start on June 15th. We start with registration webinars the week of June 8th. So you really need to be watching your emails quickly. So course registration support is a big component. So that's the first of the 5, and it's going to happen fairly quickly because we want to make sure that students are in the right courses, taking them in the order that's been recommended by their program and their advisor, and feeling comfortable that they've done the first step as a Laurier student properly. So we have a number of different opportunities for students to ensure that they have completed that course registration process properly. So that's number 1, course registration support. The next one, as Jamie mentioned, is Laurier Life, and that's sort of all of the pieces coming together. So what is it that you need to know as a Laurier student about your one card and accessing services, who's available, how to find clubs on campus, and we're launching that one on July 1st because we want to make sure that that information is up to date as possible. So that one's coming next. Then we also have academic success. So our teams work within the student success team, and that's always a priority for us. This year we're adding in some fun new components, or at least we think they're fun. And that's some mock online lectures, because we know that students have a lot of questions about what the lecture is going to look like in an online space. So we've reached out to a number of first year faculty and putting together a schedule of some mock lectures for a bit of a sneak peek into that preparation, but then students will also have the opportunity to complete an academic preparation certificate. So if they're really wanting to say, what are the sort of foundational academic skills that I need to be a successful university student, they can start working on that through the Laurier Life course as well. So what did I cover? Course registration, Laurier Life, academic success. We also have parent and supporter information. And that one's an important one because we hear a lot from students and also from parents that information transfer between the two is not always seamless. So rather than having students constantly have to forward emails or answer questions over and over again that they may be less interested in than some of their parents or supporters might be, parents and supporters can just opt into our email updates on their own. We have a section just for them. We have webinars for them as well. So we'll be sending out some information on how you can pass off that piece to those that are supporting students through this process so they can get their updates as well. And what's the last one that I missed here? Course registration, academic support, Laurier Life. What did I miss?
Peer-to-peer.
Oh, thank you. Oh my goodness, all the fun stuff. Yes. I can't forget the part. The social connection, so getting connected to classmates. So there'll be some opportunities where we may invite you to participate in an online trivia night, or maybe just a drop-in chat session with students in your program. So a chance to get to know your classmates is something that is really important to us in the program. And our team also works very closely with the Students Union team, who oversees our Orientation Week programming. And we'll be working with them to make sure that all of the transfer and the coordination of events and activities are available as well. So that will come later in August. They're still working on it right now, but getting connected and getting to know other students is a big piece of it as well.
That's
Thanks,
awesome.
Jamie.
Way to go, Jamie. Good save.
Yeah.
So, fun fact, there was a period of time where I actually was heavily involved in the parent preparation piece. So when we used to run them on campus in large groups, I get to do the presentation to sort of talk about like true facts relative to some of the disconnects that happen between students and their parents and how to bridge that gap, and specifically giving mom and dad the tools to kind of start conversations that perhaps you wouldn't implement yourself, but that's okay because we get to bring it all together. So that was something that Jamie let me do from time to time. Never actually sung during any of those presentations. So
They're lost, I
I
guess.
was gonna say, I feel like that's maybe a promise for future, not possibly. We always joke that in our programming, when students were able to come on campus, that sometimes it was the parents and the supporters had more questions than the students. That they were always the question askers. They were the first ones to put up their hands, so they always want to know a lot, and we want to make sure that they get those questions, but then also give students a chance to ask questions that their parents and supporters don't necessarily get to hear the answer to. And that's the nice thing about Laurier Life course and logging into our My Learning Space platform to access all of that, is it's really just for students. So it's for students, they'll have a chance to connect with other students, and that's their way to drive the information that way.
yeah, and the other big reason we do it, and I'm going to say it, Jamie, and it might get me in trouble, is that when we took the students out to go set up their timetables, we had to find a way to get their parents away from them so they didn't like try and figure it out for themselves and or like try and like exert influence on and be like, oh, I want you to take this in first year. And they're like, no, we want the students to kind of do their thing. You guys just go over here and do something else. But it's also super valuable. So,
yeah. Well, you got to know how to register in second, third, and fourth year too, right? So
and mom and dad, whether they know it or not, actually don't want that job on an ongoing basis.
Now, I just have a question about, so we talked a lot about kind of what this summer is going to look like. And there's so many fantastic resources in the summer, I can hardly believe it. I don't know why I didn't take advantage of any of this. I just was like, how do I register for a course? I don't know. I had to bring my friend over to help me. But Heather, you're a learning consultant, and Jamie, you focus on retention as well. So I'm just wondering, is after, the summer is up, what other resources are available for students kind of in their first year and second, third, and fourth year?
Absolutely. So we know for sure that Laurier Life course that Jamie had mentioned, that's going to be throughout the entire year. And again, that's campus specific. So there'll actually be one specifically for Brantford students and one specifically for Waterloo students. So when we start to learn more about when we can go back to campus, there'll be those specific updates that are in each one of those courses. And then to learn more about the specifics of what are the services available on each campus, and then how also you can contact them. Sometimes we differ in the naming of different things, but really the services are all available to our different students. So as a learning consultant, I'm able to meet with students one-on-one with things, really anything related to their academics. So if it comes down to study skills and maybe they just don't know how to start strong, they can meet with us one-on-one, and we can start with even just a timetable at the beginning. So where do you even get started to create a weekly schedule? Especially that's going to be a challenge this year. A lot of classes, they're going to be online and remote, at least for the fall. But if we have some synchronous classes, which means they're at the same time and they're scheduled, but also if that's combined with some asynchronous classes, which means students can just work on them throughout the entire week, it's going to be pretty challenging in making sure that you're really staying on top of your schedule and being able to stay motivated. So things like that, students can meet with us one-on-one. There's also availability on both campuses for students to meet with other students. So senior students as peer mentors, you can meet with other students to see what was it like in your first year, or what are some strategies that you find really successful that have helped you to stay on top of all of your tasks, and how have you been able to be successful throughout all of your years as well. We run workshops, and that will still be the same whether we're on campus or virtual. We'll make sure that all of those are still accessible to our students. Really, there's a wide variety of things, but not just within study skills or academic skills. We also have supports available on both campuses for writing support, as well as math and statistics support. So you can meet, again, one-on-one with staff members to be able to get some really focused support with either the writing assignment. You've likely never written a university level writing assignment before, so you can have that support, as well as math. Now, math was one of my favorite courses coming into university, so I see some shapes. I know Lindsay doesn't agree, but for an example, I thought I was really good. I thought I was great at math and I would be successful and I didn't need help. And in fact, that wasn't the case. It was very challenging for me as a student who was really strong in math. So I had to reach out to math and stat support to be able to make sure that I could stay on top of all of my work. And it was okay to ask for help. I never needed help with math before. But really, we want to make sure that students feel comfortable, regardless of what campus, whether we're on campus or off campus, that there is someone available to be able to help you. And it might seem more challenging to reach out online, but Laurier 101 will definitely introduce you to all of the services that are available. And then even once September comes and you're not sure where to start, we're still available to be able to triage or be able to connect you with the resources that can help you be successful throughout not only your first year, but throughout your time at Laurier.
That's awesome.
Cool. All right. So, Lindsay, I'm going to exclude both of us out of this next question because, as we said before, we go back a ways. So
I was like, I feel like there's an old comment coming here.
Yeah, it's a staple. If for anybody who's been in part of a Golden Talk before, they know that making fun of Craig's age is a thing that we do. So
experienced, not old.
I would never pull that on Lindsay.
Yeah.
No, yeah. It's key to never pull it on Lindsay. So we're gonna go in reverse chronological order from youngest to oldest, and I bet that everybody knows who they are in this context.
Yeah.
So Christine, Heather, Jamie, hop into your time machine. What do you think would be the element of Laurier 101 that first year you would have been most glad to have?
Oh, I like that question.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I have to start?
That's correct.
It sure does.
Jamie's into
the
it.
least experienced, or I don't want to say that because you're the youngest.
Least experience doesn't sound great. Yeah.
I don't like that. It doesn't work both ways.
No. Yeah, mine would be the course registration. For sure. I remember I did it when the timetable became available, and I brought my friend over because she was a year older than me and she helped me with it, but I still didn't do a great job, and I put my requisite courses all in one semester, and it just wasn't a good move for me. And course registration was actually something I struggled with my entire 4 years. So there was a course that I had to take that I didn't know I had to take. And then I ended up having to take 6 courses one semester. I'm not the poster child for having done course registration correctly. And had I maybe tuned into one webinar or asked for help when I needed it, which I'm also not that great at, I probably would have had a much smoother course registration period, not been in sweats when it was happening. And not wake up in the middle of the night with stress dreams about course reg. Because it's really not that difficult and there are tons of resources. There was a disconnect for me.
I have
Yeah,
to jump in,
absolutely.
Craig, because I need to know if your course registration experience was similar to mine, because I like to convince myself that I'm not that experienced all the time. But just as a point of reference, my course registration was a mail-in process where I wrote them on a piece of paper, mailed it to the university, and had to wait till it get mailed back to me. So every now and then I get that reality check that maybe I am more experienced than I like to think that I am when it comes to my university experience.
My best friend from high school also went to Laurier. She was in biology. And so she totally did my timetable for me while I watched. And to be clear, doing the timetable meant that you had the sheet with 5 columns for the 5 days of the week, and you drew in the boxes with the shading. And then you mapped it out that way, and then you went to the corresponding booklet to write down the course on the mail-in form. So yeah, we used Loris in our 4th year, our 4th graduating year. And I remember being super crusty. I'm like, it was easier with the paper way. Totally an old dog learning new tricks. Didn't love it. But in hindsight, definitely better than the way we did it.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, sorry, I just needed to add that in for context.
Oh, if you hadn't said it, I was going to say it at the end. So.
Oh, okay. Nice.
And just to confirm for all of our viewers, it is not that way anymore.
Right, sorry.
We have upgraded our systems and it's actually a little more seamless. I'm not going to say it's easy or perfect, but like Christine said, there's definitely a lot of resources to be able to help you throughout the process. You'll get to see our faces quite a lot. The first step throughout that course registration webinar is getting accustomed to the systems that we do now have for our incoming students. There's no mailing involved. Don't worry. It sounds overwhelming, but don't worry, there are supports available. But I would agree, that was for me a pretty overwhelming part. As soon as I accepted my offer, I just wanted to know what that next step was. So for June, we promise you we're not going to overwhelm you with everything that's to come throughout the summer and the entire year. We just want to focus on that course registration piece. You'll get to learn about what else is coming throughout the summer, but don't worry, step by step, we'll walk you through June, knowing that for most students, incoming students, it'll start on June 15th. If you're a transfer student, that's when it might change. You might be a little bit later, but all of our other incoming students, June 15th. So the first point would be register for that course registration webinar. That's ahead of time. And then you can also look at our course registration guide. Step 2 is you actually register for your courses. And then step 3, after that, you can have a course registration check. So you'll be able to fill out a form step by step, have you completed everything, and then you can actually have it checked over by an academic advisor. So this is something that we've previously been able to offer on campus, but this is now going to be offered to any student after you've completed that course registration. Let's make sure by the advisor that it's actually checked over and you're not missing any pieces there. So hopefully we've been able to address any issues that possibly happened in the past there. And just to give you a little bit of confidence too, that, yeah, don't worry, we've got you and it's going to be step by step and it won't be too overwhelming.
I feel like this is where Christine needs to chime in and be like, and you're telling me it's absolutely free? And then there's a round of applause from the audience. Jamie, you get the last word because you're low-key old. Just saying it.
My time machine, my time machine's not going that far back, Craig, but.
But like the number of times that you get ID'd over the course of the summer is high still. Let's be real.
I think for me, so originally I'm from Ontario. So for me, I was going to university 9 hours away. I was the only person from my high school attending that institution as well. So I think the social pieces, again, course reg for sure, super important. I think for me, the social pieces would have been super important. I was very nervous about meeting friends and finding my place and not being homesick, that sort of stuff. So this year, if I was starting this year, I think things like the virtual welcome party that we're going to be offering, as well as even our what to expect in first year panel, where you can actually hear from actual senior Laurier students about how they navigated their first year, what they learned the hard way, right? And just kind of hear from them. I think that would have been invaluable to me and just feel like I've seen a few faces and met a few people in my program before actually starting courses. So I'm really looking forward to that, and even just getting to meet our students now as a staff member and hopefully getting them excited for September too.
Nice. Cool. Well, I think we're almost full time here. Thanks, ladies, for joining us.
See how easy that
as
happened?
part of the Golden Talk.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I was a little stressed out, but it was all good. But Lindsay, since you're technically the boss, any closing thoughts? And we'll send it over on you, I think.
Oh, closing thoughts, I think, is the biggest message we'd want all students to know and remember is that we are here to support you all summer long and throughout your first year. So it doesn't matter if we don't necessarily have a webinar or a discussion or a chat or an activity assigned around the types of questions or things that you're thinking about. Just connect with us, email us, drop in on one of the Ask Us Anything sessions. We're happy to help. If we don't know the answer, we'll connect you with the right person. But I think as long as students connect with us through the Laurier 101 program, they should have most of those questions answered, and hopefully everyone in the family is feeling really comfortable and ready to get started. But always we have to end with like a shameless plug that you need to check your email, that we will be sending lots of information through your My Laurier email account. It's your official confirmation that it's sending to you, so it will get it to there. So you're going to be sick of us hearing it over and over again, but it really is so important, probably arguably this year more than ever. So check your Laurier email, and then we are here for you to help you all summer long.
Well, thank you to probably the 3 busiest ladies right now to take the time out of their day to come and talk to us on the Golden Talks podcast. We really appreciate it. It's been wonderful getting to see all of your faces again. And I guess just that goes without saying, check your email.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Check your email, everybody.